Good Dave, and thanks to the coaching and game staff of Croke Park for putting on this magnificent conference. I think they deserve great applause. Pat and his team, I think they deserve a round of applause for what they've done for us all. I really have enjoyed the day so much and inspired by the speakers. So hopefully I won't let you down. I was asked to speak on values, and lucky enough, all the other speakers have been speaking about that as well. So, values optimizing potential is the theme. How can we, like Colin was saying inside in the room, how can we really harness the spirit of the GAA and continue to improve our playing numbers and our playing performances? So, let's start with why we're here. There are four main reasons why people are paying more attention to values. The flowering of democracy across the world. People want more say in the country they live in or in the association they belong to. Your players want more say in how the team is run and how the training is done than ever before. And this is a really good thing. The flowering of democracy is a good thing. And we see countries who have sacrificed a lot for democracy to come away from old regimes. The evolution of human consciousness. They say now that people here in this room will process more thoughts than their grandfather did in their whole lifetime. That is, you'll process more thoughts in a single week than your grandfather did in his whole lifetime. The explosion of knowledge, the exponential explosion of knowledge, the amount of time you are on phones or on yokes. Thousands and thousands of thoughts are going through your head within the hour. Your grandfather didn't experience that in a whole year. So the change in consciousness has affected us all. And I can see one of the results is a lot of depression and a lot of mental health problems surfacing now. So sport is the exact counteract of that. It's the place where people are safe for 1 hour or 2 hours in the day or in the week. The need to build resilience and goodwill. So much bad news coming at us every day. Sometimes we feel, we live down the country and we hear the traffic and there's a problem on the M50. We take it in as if we had a traffic problem because that's the way it comes to us. So we need resilience now to bounce back from all negativity. And the last one then is the need to navigate in increased complexity. You have players playing in 5 or 6 teams. You might be managing 3 or 4 teams yourself. You might be busy at work. You might have shift work that doesn't suit. So there's a complexity in the life that wasn't there long ago. So here are 5 people that I took from my lifetime that exemplify values that they live by in spite of whatever it costs. So you could say any value for any of these things, but I took Martin Luther King on equality, that our common humanity, that right across the world, every race, men and women, we're all equal, we're all the very one. It's taking a long time for that to become a reality. Nelson Mandela, the courage to take on the task that he took on and the price that he paid for his conviction. Mother Teresa, the face of compassion in the world, when she took the poorest people, the people who had nobody at all to stand for them, and she took them and caressed them in her arms and minded them, because she understood our common humanity, that we're all the same. Mahatma Gandhi on nonviolence, to achieve our ends. There are people, friends here today, who tell me there's still a little bit of ambivalence in the GAA about violence. There's still a problem with cards and there's a problem with interpretation. And that in some quarters there's a tolerance of violence in our games. The very reason we were founded was to get away from violence in Irish society. And still there's a linger there, there's a human lingering to win at all costs, or to win because it's okay because our lads had to win. And then we have our present living person, Pope Francis. By taking the name of Francis, he stood for values. So those are the heroes of my life. And then I go to John Montague, who died maybe 3 weeks ago, our great poet from New York and from Tyrone. Like dolmens round my childhood, the old people. When I was young in the 50s, I could visit any house in the parish. We never locked our door. I could go to any place, come home at any time. The old people ensured that I was safe and that everybody else was safe. You now, us coaches now, we're the dolmens. Will we stand firm around our young people? Will we be there for them in all circumstances? The values that we sell them in their childhood will last forever. The values that my neighbours, my mother and father, my grandfather and those people, my granduncles, that they gave me are lasting me now to the present day. I interpret the world through the meanings that they gave me. And I'm sure you're all the same. But the world has changed, and people can't go from house to house. And when they come to the field for an hour or two in the week, are you the dolman they are solid and strong, fully accepting of them as they are, so that they can let go of the pressures and the worries of life? And then you have maybe another interpretation, that from William Wordsworth. And so it was, since time began, the child is father of the man. Our childhood is the father of our present life. We interpret our present life from the values that we gained in our childhood. I think a lot of speakers have referred to that today. If I was reading that now in modern language, it would be, and so it was since time began, the child is parent of the adult. Because there's women here and we don't want to be offensive. And so that lovely picture, the child coming into Croke Park, is going to be imbued with the passion that we have for our Gaelic games, the passion we have for our own place. They're going to hear the noise and they're going to feel the tension and they're going to feel the joy. And that lasts forever. And we want it repeated and we want it repeated and we want it repeated. And so Gaelic games are vital to Ireland and vital to everybody that lives in Ireland. Our challenge then is to be faithful to the core value of sport as a driver of social, cultural and educational progress. If we think winning, or if winning becomes a value, we're doomed. Winning can never become a value. We might like to win, but it cannot become a value because it's not a value. Our values are to build social capital, cultural capital and educational capital. So if sport achieves those, then we have a real big role to play in the world. So this is the golden rule of the Celtic Tiger. Whoever has the gold makes the rules. And some of you suffered on account of that, and some of you are still suffering. And this is the golden rule. Treat others as you want them to be treated, as you want to be treated. Martin Fogarty touched this fairly well. Imagine yourself as the player when you're coaching, and how is the experience for you? I think it's a lovely way of putting it. Imagine I'm the player. So I at home now in Drummondinch, I coach the under-6s. About 12 or 13 girls and 12 or 13 boys, about 26. And I have 20 parents helping all the time. So I imagine myself as a 4.5-year-old. And how is this for me every Saturday morning? And then I meet him in other places and they're lighting up with joy. And they say they're hoping for Saturday. So I know things aren't going too bad. So I'm referring now to Wade Gilbert, who came here all the way from California, via Canada and so on. And thanks, Wade, and your wife for making such a massive effort for us. So I'm taking this from his research. This is what coaches worldwide think are their top 10 values. Now there's 11 to 20 and there's 20 to 30, but we'll take the top 10. So the ability to connect with your group, the ability to connect on a human level with the people that you coach, both the people that coach with you and the people that you coach. Humility in the face of the size of the challenge that we're taking on, to mind 30 other adults, some of us not fully capable of minding ourselves. So humility is necessary. Candor or honesty. It's having enough backbone to say it as it is, to see it as it is and to say it as it is. Patience, because learning takes time. Empathy, to think back to honesty. Honesty without empathy is just cruelty. And I think we had a lot of that in the past. You're pure useless. You're just pure useless. Well, it might be true, but there's no empathy there. And so the person cannot connect with you. And then they cannot find a way out. So they're condemned to be pure useless. Trustworthiness. Am I trustworthy? I'm standing here in front of you, open and naked in front of you. Was it worth your while to wait for this? Am I trustworthy? Did I do my preparations? Did I open myself up? Am I honest with you? For you in the dressing room, to become trustworthy is a massive human achievement. Openness, flexibility because everything doesn't go to plan. I think vulnerability is a word that's not fiercely understood. Wade and many others refer to it today. It's that I am fully human. I only know so much. There's lots of things I don't know. We'll just take 2 examples. In any group of players, there are probably 4 or 5 players who could do a demonstration of a skill better than you could or I could. And we mightn't be using them. There are wise people in the community. We mightn't be using them. And all they want to do is be asked. And then to be balanced in our view. Winning and losing are going to happen. I read a lovely article by Mick O'Connell of Kerry, the great Mick O'Connell. I saw Mick O'Connell play and I played against him on maybe his last match. He said he didn't care or never cared whether he won or lost the match. He just cared, did he meet his own standards of play? Did he honor the game? His only thing in life was, did he honor the game? Well, Mick, you did honor the game. That's a certain thing. Do we all honor the game on the sideline, or are we tribal? Or is it win at all costs and forget about everything and then be ashamed of ourselves tomorrow? So here's a story of communication. This is Bobby the dog wants to talk to Lily the cat. So Bobby, he has been squabbling with Lily for a good while, but this morning he woke up and he said, I'm going to make the peace today. So he approaches Lily and he has his tail up and he's wagging, he's happy as Larry. But a cat, of course, when she sees a tail wagging, she's a cat. And when the cat wags her tail, they're really angry. And she says, oh my God, that fella, he's at it again. If he comes 1 inch nearer, I'll take the puss off him. And Lily is the same. Another day she wants to make the peace. And she comes close to Bobby and she's purring like a cat would purr. He interprets as a growl. And the fight is on, and the fight is incessant. The one cannot understand the other. The man cannot understand the woman. The older person cannot understand the teenager. The teenager can't talk to the older person, and the line is drawn. We got to break that down. We've got to understand the next generation. We've got to understand them. And if they come to the restaurant with everybody with their ears in and their phones on, that's the world they're in. We have to accept them. They need acceptance. They're unsure of themselves too. And as you were unsure of your coaching, they are as unsure of themselves in the world to meet the challenges of the world. So I was playing snakes and ladders at Christmas with my grandchild, and I lost. But anyway, you can't win all the time. Sure you can't. So the ladders are the values that takes us up, and the snakes are the vices or the bad habits that take us down. So here are the ladders. You know, we talk about respect in the GAA. We have a bit to go. Players respecting the rules of the game. Coaches respecting players. Respecting the properties. Fairness. Loyalty. Courage. Love and joy. Generosity. Now, when I talk about the GAA, I know about generosity. All of you today, your generosity cannot be measured. Gearing up for a new year by coming here so that you can help 30 people or 60 people for the whole 12 months. They don't even know you're here. So we know about generosity. I think that tree, you know, it really encapsulates all our values there. But the world isn't all that smooth, and there are vices and there are slippery snakes, and some of them appear to be good and they're not. And fear that we're not good enough is the biggest single thing in human beings. Fear that we're not adequate enough. Teenagers fear that they're not brainy enough, sexy enough, tall enough, handsome enough, pretty enough. They're ridden with this fear. They're overpowered with this fear. Our job is to reassure them that when you're with me, you're A1, you're fine. Perfectionism is another thing in the world now. You know, you can't have it. If you want things perfect, everything is a failure. If you want the perfect car, if you want the perfect holiday, if you want the perfect anything, you're already in failure. You can't have perfect. Elitism, we have problems with that. Criticism, a lot of public criticism on television after matches. So I'm going to talk to you now about the critic. It's not the critic who counts. I want to say this so clear to the GAA. It's not the critic who counts. The match is what's important, not what the critic said about the match. We're nearly gone so far now as not to watch the match at all, only find out what somebody said about it. We're so removed from the match now. What the paper said about the match is more important than the match. The only thing that matters is the match and the game. It's not the critic who counts, not the one who points out how the strong stumble or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the one who is actually in the arena, who strives valiantly, and if they fail daring greatly. The nature of sport is that one team has to lose. The only question that we should ask is, did they honor the game? There will be a loser. The only thing you'll win in your life, with the exception of Kilkenny maybe and a few more, the majority of people will win 4 or 5% of the matches they play. That's the nature of things. So if we're into the winning all the time, we're always a failure, we're always a disaster. So there's a bigger story going on here. It's about community. It's about us together. The very thing that Michael Cusick founded us for. To take the energy that we have and put it into something cultural and useful instead of fighting and being tribal. Now, from my own position, how do I see the world? I believe everybody is doing the best they can with the tools they have. I believe you're doing the best with the tools they have. You came here today to get more tools. I'm sure you got more tools. There was lots of tools on offer. And am I doing the best with the tools I have for my under sixes? Well, I'll get ready and the season will open and I'll be ready for them. And I'll be better than last year. My values will be surer. And I'll be true to my values in a better way. Integrity, you know integrity, honesty, or candor. Integrity is choosing courage over comfort. Now, courage is a big thing. To call what's right, right. For a lot of years in Ireland, we couldn't call bullying, bullying. We were afraid of it. And we backed down in every area of life. We backed down when we saw wrongdoing in so many areas of life. We backed down. We didn't have the courage. So integrity is choosing courage over comfort. Choosing what is right over what is easy. Choosing to practice our values rather than professing them. It is quite easy to say the words we had in front of Mandela. Morgan Freeman, the great actor, did a magnificent performance in the film about Mandela. But there's nobody here in any doubt that Morgan Freeman was not Nelson Mandela. He was just playing a role. And sometimes coaches get into the thing of playing a role. Well, we're not affecting people then. Mandela was Mandela. He went through hell and he led his country into a new time in the Rainbow Nation. But Morgan Freeman isn't Nelson Mandela. Neither is Ben Kingsley, Mahatma Gandhi. He just played a role for a film. So sometimes so here we have the GAA to give respect, to honor the game, to give respect, to honor our players. Over the last 20 years, the work we have done on providing good fields for our players is phenomenal in every tiny parish, and I have been in 1,300 of them. And from right up in St. Mary's in North Donegal to Rosslare Harbour, and from North Antrim down to West Kerry, and from Beaneader across to Clifton, we have put fields in every single parish. In every parish, not in some. So that's our way of showing respect to our players and our spectators. Respect is a two-way street. In the old days, people with titles expected respect from everybody. The day of titles is probably gone. Respect is an earned thing. I earn respect. The coach earns respect. by giving respect. So here's a person, Deming. His book is Out of Crisis. He's the one who led Japan out of the misery of the World War and turned them into one of the greatest nations, economic nations in the world. So I've just taken 4 of his 14-point plan, which you'll find easy enough, his 14-point plan. It will be a good plan for any club. So move towards a long-term relationship of loyalty and trust. So when I get my players, I'm going to move towards a long-term relationship. I'm going to get over small little things that would have bothered me before. I'm going to turn a blind eye to certain little lapses in skills. As long as the children are having fun and running and moving and getting their agility and knowing when to go to the ball and knowing how to gather it, I'm going to be happy. When I see smiles on their faces, I'm going to be happy. Innovation comes from people who take joy in their work. And I know a lot of coaches here are overpowered, too many teams. Every moment I'm going to coach from here on, I'm going to enjoy every moment of it. I already love coaching, I already love doing it, but this year I'm going to lay out my mind that I'm really going to enjoy my work. People care better for themselves when they're empowered to contribute to the system. Now this is crucial to players. They will enjoy their training better if they're contributing to the system, to the game plans. What I find about players is they know the opposition better than any coaches. At schools level, they go to school with each other. But they know each other now since they're under 12. And the players know the opposition better than any stats sheets. And they know who should be on who and who'll be able for who. And sometimes that is just cut off. We don't listen. So this is, when we talk about integrity now, for myself integrity, but for the association, at the moment, we can't claim integrity. We have a crisis of club and county. We just have a massive crisis to face up to. We aren't being fair to club players. The system has evolved that now there's no integrity in the system. And so if we're going to be critiqued on what we do stand for, we could claim integrity, but that wouldn't ring true now. And so we have to go to our value system to solve the problem. If our club players are the essence of the association, then they have to be brought right back into the centre. It can be done, but it isn't a bit easy. It's not a bit easy, but it has to be faced to, or we're going to stay with a lack of integrity. The club player, who's ultimately all of you were club players and a few county players among you. County didn't affect us that much in my time. But now there's a blanket ban on matches. And you can play when the county is finished. Well, where's the respect there? We can use the word respect, but where's the respect? And so we face up to it in a proper way. Time for county, time for club. Time for county, time for club. Now this is the law of the jungle, and as old and as true as the sky. The wolf that shall keep it may prosper, but the wolf that shall break it must die. For the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. The lone wolf is doomed. The lone wolf doesn't survive. Survive no length. It is very easy to make county fixtures. It's very simple. There's only so many counties. It's easy to make them. The trouble is that's not holistic. We have to make fixtures with everybody included. And one county goes one way, another county goes one way, one part of the association goes one way, another goes another way. Unless the pack holds together, puts their heads together, we cannot solve it in single units. Club matches fixed for the 1st of August, matches cancelled, holidays are ruined, there's enmity at home, there's disunity at home, because the match, now when is the match on? The match will be on as soon as the county is finished. When are we going on holidays? I don't know. When are we getting married? I don't know. I don't want to marry you anyway. And who'd marry a GAA person, isn't it? Yeah? And we can speak all the lovely words about integrity and honesty and respect. And where is it? In one level it's there, and another level it's absent. And so if we're going to critique ourselves, we need to solve this crisis. But it has to be solved in a whole unified way, in a holistic way. The only ones now that are we can really work with are the under-10s. You can have a program for under-10s and nothing interferes with it. So I know a club who played 50 under-10 matches last year, and their seniors got 6 matches. Now, where's integrity there? It's upside down, isn't it? So things have drifted their way. And this year, please God, all heads get together. Yeah? We have hurling and football. A civil war going on since 1884. You can blame Morris Davin for that, because at 2:30 in his hotel, he told Michael Cusick, you'll have a split in the association if you don't include football. Cusick was not bringing football into the association, and the Tipperary man saved football. Imagine that. Well, that's only true. So this is a little bit referring to John Wooden's pyramid. So we've had conferences, we've had full conferences around technical proficiency, tactical prowess, and team play. And we have had full conference around psychological focus, physical fitness, and performance analysis. Okay, we have had full conferences around how to. So know what, up there. Learn how. I think we have improved greatly there. So for this year, we're in the purple here. I don't care what 3 or 4 values you take, but take 3 or 4 yourself and say, this is my value system for this year. If you're a beginner coach or an emerging coach, as we call them, take 3 or 4. If you're an advanced coach, take 6 or 8. And if you're an enlightened coach, take on as much as you can. And you can see how the pyramid is built. It's built on the values, and it'll stand forever if it's built on the values. When I was a young player, that's all we knew. And then Joe Lennon and those who went to Gormanstown invented how to coach. We never knew anything about how to coach. We just knew play the game. Then we got this, and it was a big breakthrough. But now we know that this is how the fortress is built. There's 5 triangles in that, if you want to get a ratio. There's 3 in that, and there's 1 in that. Doesn't that tell you the strength of the great coach? The strength of a Cody or Mick O'Dwyer, the strength of a Jim Gavin or a Eamon O'Shea, the strength of those, because they knew that this is how your house is built, on being true to each other and being honest to each other, honest on the field and honest off the field. And if Jim Gavin or the Westmeath footballers go sleeping on the street in solidarity with the homeless, we know that we're okay. We know that we're okay, that our young men and our young women are okay. They have solid values. Like Mother Teresa, we're all the same, we're all the one. Some are in hard circumstances, and we're privileged. Congruence, me holding myself together. Values lived out, that are the underpinning strength, the character, the cultural driving force. You know, they say talent wins matches and character wins championships. And that is the truest thing that I have ever heard. Talent will win matches, but character will win championships. When our values are sorted, it is hard to beat us. Without values, on a given day, anybody can turn us over. And so, our great thing in the association is that we have a passion. We have a passion for Gaelic games. We have a passion that cannot be quantified by words. And so I'm looking at these 2 brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright. They remind me of the 2 Donovans of Skibbereen. 2 indomitable spirits who took on the world. They didn't give a care that they came from a small place in West Cork. They didn't think like that. We'll take on the world, bring them on. 2 beautiful, noble spirits couldn't be defeated, who couldn't be defeated because they win anyway. And here they are. They had a little bicycle shop, right? They had a vision of a new world. 200 miles away, there was a person funded by government called Langley who had endless money, who had the brains trust of the universities, and he was trying to get flight as well. But these, through pure passion and the ability to reflect every evening on what happened that day. So one day, the little machine flew for 58 seconds. And so, this minute, there are 1 million people in the sky. On account of these two poor little young lads with a dream, they had nothing going for them. No money, no support, no publicity. Nobody knew about them. But their little aeroplane flew, and then people took it on from there. Your little parish can fly too. Your little parish can fly. Your parish can. I was in Coola when there were nobody. I was in Schlockneil when there were nobody. But there was men there and women there who were dreaming dreams. And now we have new provincial champions in 3 provinces in a given year. So there are people dreaming dreams because they went down to their core values. They just wrote down their core values and we live by them. So they had nothing going for them. They didn't have finance. They didn't have publicity. Nothing going except a passion to change the world. And they changed the world. So now we go back to Pat's model. And I always, when I take Pat's model, I say, how is this in reality? How are we going to get liftoff? Well, you know what passion is. A tsunami or a mad storm that destroys a country. When passion is coupled with principles or values, then you get liftoff. Because we have the passion. There's nobody in the world have the passion that we have for our Gaelic games. Nobody can match it. Now this year, can we marry that or couple that to values? And with the passion and the values, then everything will be fine. And I know there's people here from rural parishes whose numbers are dwindling. And you'll need a passion. Because you want to play in your colours and you want your colours played in. And there's big, sprawling urban areas who might have nearly got so big they can hardly manage. So I think that model might just stay with you. Can we harness the passion? Otherwise, passion becomes a destructive thing. And that's the very thing that Michael Cusick founded us for, to harness the passion and turn it into something beautiful. Our cultural inheritance of hurling and football, of camogie, Gaelic games, of handball and rounders. And so the wind blows every day, and all over Ireland now there's these windmill farms that I love. I just love them. I think they're most beautiful. They take what's already there and turn it into heat and power and light for our houses. They take what's already there. They're not destroying the world. They're not damaging the world. There's no fumes off them. There's no carbon poisoning going on. So can we take the energy, can we take what's there in the parish and put it to use? Or are we telling Jimmy and Mary, you're useless, you'll never be any good, go home? And then 2 years we're sorry because we have only 13 or 12. It's their fault, they're not interested. Our value system is the only thing that's going to save us. The ability to connect, the very first thing we put up from Wade's slide. The ability to connect. Love and belonging are irreducible needs. They're irreducible needs. Every one of us need every day to belong to something and to love and be loved. It's not easy to say it always. Love is a mucky word now. It has been destroyed. But love is an essential for human living. To love my place, to belong to my place. When the little under 10 pulls on the jersey, they belong to the place. They know they belong. And once they know they belong, it's all fine. We're hardwired for connection. We need people. I think Leonard Cohen, I don't know of any Leonard Cohen fans. You know, I need you, I need you. I don't need you, I don't need you. Leave me alone, I need you, I need you. You know that dilemma that we all have? The absolute need for love and affection, and then the fear Leave me alone, leave me alone. I need you, I need you. Some of you feel that about your clubs. I need you, you'll be killed. Yeah? You know that feeling? Yeah. I'm talking here to the wholehearted people. The word wholehearted and courage are the same word. Courage is wholehearted, who live out their lives. Wholehearted people live defined by courage and engagement and purpose. Vulnerability then is the catalyst for courage. You know, you couldn't know courage unless you experience fear. So without fear, there's no need for courage. So if you say you have courage, you know what fear is. The fear of not being good enough. You have talented players. Am I good enough a coach? I'm doing it for the first time. That's when you're at your best. When you're dealing with fear and you still do it. That's when you're at your very best. That's why you need to take on new challenges. And let the fear be in you and then do it. And then you've overcome the fear. But courage, there's no such thing as courage unless you know what fear is. Now, we're going on now to transformation. The transformation away from my own personal needs into a person of service, into a person, you know, who's matured and who's willing to give back. I want to use football as a way of transforming how people are. I want them, when they're finished with football, to have a full set of values about their own humanity, about the place they come from, and the people that they play with. And that those memories sustain them all of their lives when they're finished, as they did with you, and you're still involved in the game because the game gives us everything we want. I want you to watch this closely. Transformation is transforming from me to we. Right? The transformation is from me to we. When I have my own needs met, I then want to meet and help other people meet their needs. The game does that for us. We get that in Gaelic games. So I want to just, as we go along, every other day, if I was on my own in the morning after breakfast, I might throw out a few slices of bread on the lawn just to watch the crows. The crows are magnificent. The nature of the crow is that he's gregarious, he's a flock bird, and he cannot look after his own needs. I throw out the bread, he goes over to the bread, he can't eat it. His nature is, I'm a flock bird. So he calls all the crows from all over. He will not touch the bread. He can't. His nature is flock. He cannot do the individual thing. He cannot look after his own needs first. He calls in all the other birds, and then they fight like hell over the bread. Yeah? But he's true to his nature. We're not always true to our nature. We can be selfish, and we can be greedy, and we can do wrong things. The crow could not eat the bread. Isn't it an interesting thing? He's starving, he wants the bread, but his nature is, I can't eat that. I'm a flock bird. And they fight like the devil over the same bit of bread that he could have gobbled. We're not always true to our nature, but the animals are true to their nature. They can't be any other way. We have a great capacity for self-deception. I want to tell you a little story. I became interested in environment maybe 20 years ago. And the rainforest was under fair pressure. They were slaughtering the trees and cutting the trees and setting up big farms and all kinds of things. And the damage was, irreversible. And I was in a rage over the burning and the slashing of the rainforest. And we had teak windows in the house, and they weren't being that effective. So we took them out and we put in PVC windows. And we chopped up the teak windows. And one day I realized I was burning the rainforest. I was the one who was burning the rainforest. I had given out because it was other people who were burning the rainforest. So we have this massive capacity for self-deception. How am I, through my values, building my club? How am I, through my values, slashing and burning my club? falling out of this one, falling out of that one. Yeah? Over some, because he let in a goal in 47. The whole parish won't talk to him, yeah? He missed a free in 59. Unforgivable. Useless, yeah? The self that we present to the world is the self that the world needs. The chances of you being you and I being me are 1 in 430 billion. 1 in 430 billion. The world needs you authentic. It doesn't need a version of you. It doesn't need somebody that you want to be like. It needs you. And tell that to your teenagers. The world needs authentic you. And only authentic you will meet the needs that the universe needs of you. And today, I got a text from my friend Liam Moggan. Paudie, if you do one thing, be yourself. Because that's what people are entitled to. Don't be a copy of Wade or a copy of Martin Fogarty or a copy of Mick Bohan or somebody. Be yourself. And I say the same to you. Find your courage and be yourself. That's what the children and that's what the players need. The authentic you. So sometimes, you know, we armor up because the world is cruel, isn't it? And there's criticism, and we armor up, and after a while we don't know who we are. We've armored up so much. The courage to be vulnerable means taking off the armor we use to protect ourselves, putting down the weapons we use to keep people at a distance, and show up and let the world see us as we are. The old world of control and command created fear and shame, and some of you were educated that way, unfortunately. Some of you still might be coaching through control and command. All it does is create fear, and what we want is to transform that into love and joy and creativity. Here's another environmental story. It's not the strongest to survive, nor the most intelligent, but the ones who adapt best to the new environment. The new environment is present. Rural Ireland is depleted. Urban Ireland probably needs a lot more clubs. This poor creature here, there's only 172 pairs of curlers left in Ireland. There was 172 pairs in my parish when I was a child. Do you see that beautiful long beak? They cannot cut it short. The very thing that made them tremendously successful is now causing their demise, and they'll be gone in a couple of years. So what are the practices that we have that were once useful and are now going to be the cause of our failure unless we let go? The very things that were good in 50 and 60 might be the very things that are killing now and that our teenagers mightn't be able for. Can I adjust to the new time? Can I adjust to the new time? I cannot ask players to live in my time, but I can certainly live in their time. So we have on the left-hand side from you there, we have expedience. This is the world that we get off television. Every time I see professional sport on television, somebody comes on and says, we're a results-driven business. Well, we're not a business, and we're not results-driven. And we want to separate ourselves from that kind of thinking. That's a valueless thinking. So, winning is everything. It's only cheating when you get caught. It's the referee's job to catch wrongdoing. Revenge for 47 and bullying. It's now being talked about as bullying as a good thing on the field. Well, that's not us. That's not the GAA. We cannot claim that as a value. On the right then, in the light blue, we have integrity. Honesty and integrity honoured again. Pursue victory with honour, which Wade and others spoke about. Fairness, personal responsibility, respect and discipline. So if the transformation is to happen, can we cross the line back over to where we should always be? Or are we contaminated by critics and valuelessness in society? So here's my best effort at writing a charter for the GAA. This is the GAA that I belong to. This is what I have given my whole life to. We're a games-based organisation. It's about the game, the love of the game, We are player-centered. We're values-driven. Professional sport, results-driven business. We're not a business, and we're not results-driven. We're a community. We're a volunteer-led, and we're professionally supported, like we have here today, the Games Committee, the Coaching and Games Committee led by Frank Burke and Pat Daly. They support us all in our coaching. We are rooted in community, and we are community enriching. And if anybody ever has doubt about fear of losing matches, we aren't about that. We're about community. Building, giving people a love of their own place through the playing of our games. We are promoters of health and well-being. At this very venue, just outside the door, there's a group of people becoming tutors in health and well-being. We have a kind of a blight on the country now on mental health. It has arisen in the last maybe 10 years. We just have to reassert our values. Too many people are thinking they're failures. They're not failures. One of my very best friends, talking to him yesterday at the funeral, feeling a failure, one of the most successful people that ever graced our fields, a noble man of the highest order, suffering desperately from depression, that he's a failure in the world. How on earth can that be the case? We are responsible and accountable. Every part of the station publishes accounts on finance. We're responsible for all monies that we raise. We are self-sufficient and sustainable. We are promoters of equality and inclusiveness. We know that we're not equal, but we have to be determined that we get equal in the last couple of years. And to go back to Michael Cusick then, we are socially and culturally inspired. The reason he founded the association was a social reason, a cultural reason, tied in to our games. He wrapped it all so beautifully. A year after Thurles, November the 1st, 1884, 1,500 clubs were formed. It was a miracle. It was a miracle. It is a miracle. There's no equivalent in the whole world. And so I leave you with this. This is Michael Cusick. I would love to see Maurice Davin standing beside him. Integrity is the alignment of outward and inward values. So the club player has to get their rights. They have to be valued. They have to get a definite calendar. Integrity in our clubs will lead to increased participation. If our clubs are coached well and run well, we increase our numbers. The young mothers are going to send their children to a place where they're regarded. They're not particularly fussy where they go as long as their children are regarded. Community confidence and on-field success. The GAA will survive and thrive if it remains true to its core values. And I'll just have 3 slides I want to put up, and maybe you'll read them yourselves. I think they're fairly profound. Us coaches, we want to inspire children to play our Gaelic games. We are hardwired for connection and curiosity and engagement. We crave purpose. And we have a deep desire to create and contribute. All of us have a deep desire to contribute. The thing that we never say is, for me to fulfill my needs, I need a team. I need a team all of the time. My needs cannot be met unless I have a team. I'm full of gratitude when I get a team. It's no chore. I need a team. When learning and working are dehumanized, we disengage and turn away from the very things that the world needs of us. Unfortunately, sometimes players, referees were dehumanized. Is that true? Yeah, we have to say, yeah, sorry. We call players things, and I do think Sunday game, the criticism after Sunday game, I think is way out of line. I think it's way out of line. I think it has no place in our association. I cannot see a purpose in it. Micheál O'Hare and Micheál Murray-Hartig never said a derogatory word about a player in 70 years. Didn't they set a tone for us? They did say the truth, but they never said a derogatory remark. So, dehumanizing of people is not our business. Empowering of people is our business. And then we'll finish with this. Above all else, we ask you to show up. Let yourself be seen and be courageous, daring greatly. Montague.